The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The Derbyshire Dales series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Rowtor Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Welcome back to the Derbyshire Dales again, everybody. I've been looking forward to this one because in this particular episode we're going to be doing a bit of rock climbing, adventuring if you like, which is something we didn't do in Stanton yesterday because Stanton Moor is a big place. Well, here there's a little tiny rock formation which we can walk around within, what, 5 minutes potentially, but it's got an interesting tale to it which is linked to the Druids, believe it or not. This is Birchover. Birchover, Birch Tree Ridge. Today we come to the parish of Birchover, which is 5 miles away from Matlock in the Derbyshire Dales. It contains the main village and the small hamlet of Eagle Tor, which is on the northwestern edge. Now, village-wise, this one's not all that special when compared to others in the Dales, but that probably isn't totally fair if you're looking at it in and of itself. True, it has some classic Dales features, and we will be discussing those as usual, but Birchover is remarkably similar to its near neighbours for the most part. That is, until you reach the western end of the main village street. It's at that point you'll encounter the one thing that pulls people to the place more than anything else: Rowtor Rocks. That's an ancient rock formation which we will get up close and personal with as we wander through the village. Other than that, what else makes Birchover notable? Well, there's a couple of things. Bradley Rocks near Birchover featured as the location of the farm in the 1987 film The Princess Bride. The horror writer Joseph Freeman based a story here too. It was called A Room of His Own. The same author had articles published in Saccade magazine and a charity anthology called Dog Tales, which were based on real-life eerie events in the area. Birchover is also the village associated with the former Blackpool footballer Eddie Shimwell, who was the first fullback ever to score at Wembley Stadium. So in all, Birchover is quite the place. It might not be the most well known in the Dales, but I'll do my best, as I do for every single village I turn the camera on for. Now, let's explore those rocks. We've got a bit of driving to do to start off this episode because Birchover can be split into two bits. You have first of all the main village, which is essentially one long street, but then you also have a section to the south of that which is marked on modern maps as Upper Town. Upper Town is mainly just houses, so it's not all that special, but even so I felt it was worth a look. This and the main settlement form the pretty little village that Birchover undoubtedly is. It all lies on the southeastern border of the Peak District National Park. It's a characterful village surrounded by the most stunning scenery. Although only 5 miles away from Matlock, it stands amid the most magnificent open moorland. Birchover is an ancient village which was mentioned in the Domesday Book. It has a collection of beautiful old cottages, many built of distinctive pink gritstone, which came from the Stanton Moor quarries located above the village. Birchover may be small, but it has a thriving sense of community with a number of festivals and events held throughout the year. Birchover was once the home of the amateur antiquarians J.C. and J.P. Heathcote, a father and son who spent much of their time investigating the barrows and monuments on Stanton Moor. They kept a fascinating private museum in the old village post office, and now the Heathcote collection can be found in Sheffield's Western Park Museum. About halfway down its main street, Birchover has a chapel, and this is our first main talking point. Built sometime in the 1850s and possibly rebuilt in 1908, this was a Wesleyan Reformed chapel, and it's of a type typical for the Derbyshire Dales, built as it is into a hillside. It has 2 stories with the main entrance on the higher ground level into the upper floor, and the lower floor is reserved for a schoolroom. It closed sometime before 2011, and planning permission was later sought to convert it into a holiday cottage. Not a bad place for one, you'll agree. Speaking of chapels, in 1867 a primitive Methodist chapel was built at Birchover, replacing an earlier chapel in existence in 1853. The new chapel is this building, but nobody knows for sure where the old one was. This one, which can be found on the end of Upper Town Lane, was extended in 1928 and closed in 1993. It was in the Bakewell circuit and then later the Peak Methodist circuit. Okay, so handily, we've got a map of Birchover village here which shows us where we are and where we're about to go. It's in 2 pieces this. At the bottom we've got the village itself, which as you can see is not all that large. We are there where the red blob is. We've walked from here, so you can see we've walked a fair distance already and there's not really much more to go. It's a very small place. Now up above there's a map of the entire parish, and Birchover village on that map is there. It's right here, so it's kind of sort of central, sort of more to the west, I suppose. And there's a parish comes out all the way across here. There's loads of woods. We've got Sabine Hay Wood there, Clough Wood there, Birchover Quarry up here, Barton Hill Quarry, a few other bits and bobs. Birchover Wood to the south, near Upper Town. This is Upper Town here. So, where are we about to go then? Well, as I said, we've walked that short distance from here to here, and all that's remaining is this. But this is the most interesting part of Birchover just here, because we've got 2 pubs to see, one there and one there. We've also got a church which is not far from this pub. It's along this road here, which by the way is not suitable for cars. There's a few other bits and bobs in between, but the most interesting bit is this here. Let's go and check them all out. Oh, and also close to that map there's a parish notice board, so you know what that means. That's Birchover in the books. There are 2 pubs in Birchover. Here we have the Red Lion, which dates from 1680 and was built on the site of a farm. Just inside the entrance to the main bar is a 30-foot deep well, which you'll be pleased to know is thankfully covered over. However, its covering is glass, and you wouldn't catch me walking on it. The inn gained its first licence in 1722 when licensing became law. In 1884, the inn was proposed for sale for £285, and that included, according to the records of that time, the parlour, kitchen, cellars, 2 bedrooms and a large club room, together with a cowhouse and stables. It even included a coach house and a piggery across the road. For £285, I'll take 10 please. For a while it lost its own brewery until some new owners came along in 2006. Named Matteo and Alison Frau, they reintroduced brewing to the Red Lion thanks to the Birchover brewery. And where do you think the water used for brewing comes from? Where else but that 30-foot deep well? Birchover's other pub is called the Druid Inn. This has a great reputation for food and real ales, and also has an interesting history. Reputedly, it was once the meeting place of the Druids, who used the area around Birchover for ceremonial worship. They would practice their magic amidst the rock formations around Birchover, and one of those can be found directly above the pub. Get ready because we're about to go and explore them, but before we do, we have to first learn a little bit more about the local church. Trust me, that'll help. Birchover's church is rather unusual. Dedicated to St Michael, this was originally a private chapel and was the work of a very intriguing individual. That would be the local parson, Reverend Thomas Eyre. He lived at Rowtor Hall, which fell into disrepair when he died in 1717. It was demolished in 1869 and the present vicarage was built in its place. The chapel is quite odd in that it has no windows at all on 2 of its main sides. It's been altered a little bit now, but the original building still survives despite it too falling into disrepair in the mid-19th century. It was rebuilt by the Thornhills of Stanton Hall and it became the parish church of St Michael in 1870 after its chancel was added the previous year. There's also some modern stained glass by Brian Clark, who lived at the vicarage for a while in the 1970s. Okay, now we've reached the most important and most interesting bit of this entire episode. You see, if you carry on walking down this road, it just becomes a dead end and you head towards the cemetery, and that's not really all that interesting as far as this video goes. What is interesting is what this road goes around. It's a rock formation which you can get access to if you go back the other way. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to head back up this lane past the church, which you can see on the right hand side, and just before you reach the Druid Inn there's a little footpath on the left and it takes you up into this hillside. This is Rowtor Rocks. Now we come to Birchover's biggest attraction, the mysterious cave complex of Rowtor Rocks. To find your way to the rocks, you have to follow a stone wall that begins in the car park of the Druids Inn and leads to a track up into a huge gritstone mass. This mass consists of numerous interlinked tunnels and caverns, some of which are man-made. Many of the rocks have been carved with intricate symbols and pictures, including serpents, circles and cups. A series of steps, thrones and altars have also been fashioned out of the stone in a number of places. The rocks are about 70 yards long and worth exploring for the fine views they give of the wooded hillside and the valley below. The carvings upon them reputedly date from the 17th century, and they're the handiwork of that man, Thomas Eyre. You see, despite being a man of the cloth, Eyre was also a druid who reputedly practiced witchcraft. It's believed that he used Rowtor Rocks in his druid ceremonies and also wrote his sermons sitting on the seats he'd carved looking out over the landscape. 2 of the caves were reputedly created by him, and in them he used to entertain his friends. Rowtor Rocks is great if you're looking for a magical place to take the kids. Although this gritstone mass has been altered by the hand of man, it's definitely been transformed into a place with an Alice in Wonderland feel to it. Unfortunately, locations such as this do attract the half-witted. There are wild claims of modern occult worship at the site, as well as ghost experts photographing orbs and suggesting they're the first manifestations of spirit. I guess it depends if you believe in all that stuff, but take it from me, I don't think they've got anything to do with Rowtor Rocks. There used to be one particular rock in here which weighed about 50 tons that could be rocked back and forth by hand. However, back in 1799, a group of 14 young men decided to move it. How they achieved that is not known, but when it was relocated, it no longer balanced in the same way, and now it won't move at all. Well, this is the sort of place that kids absolutely love, but you have to be careful here because there's no handrail here, and it's a very, very steep drop. You have to keep them supervised at all times because, trust me, you do not want to fall down there. The rocks are fantastic and all that, but you have to make sure you're safe. Now, what I'm going to do to get back is I'm going to try to walk through this cave because I know that the other end comes out further down this hill. So here we go. Can I turn myself into a leprechaun potentially? Let's see. Blimey, this is really, really, really tight. I'm bobbed down here. I've probably got about, what, another 50 meters or so to go to the other end. Wow, this is dark in here as well. This is why I said kids love it, because can you imagine exploring this cave with your kids? It's amazing. You can see the daylight at the other end, so you can get through. You have to mind your head. Really, really tight. Wow. Honestly, it's amazing. A little window there, look. You can see on the outside. I've squatted down now. I'm virtually on my knees here. So we're going to continue through. Hopefully I can get through that little section there. That looks really tight. Let's have a look at that. Oh, virtually crawling along the ground here now. Wow. Oh, blimey. Oh. Oh. No, I don't think I'm going to get through that. I'll be honest with you. It looks far too tight. But even so, we got halfway in, didn't we? What a fantastic landmark this is. You just have to be really careful to mind your head. To finish with, we have a drive through Eagle Tor. That's a hamlet right on the edge of Birchover Parish, and it's notable for the site of an old mill. Eagle Tor Mill was built to produce flour and was listed in the first edition OS map in 1800. It was demolished in the 1950s, but there are remnants of its existence in the hamlet today. For a start, the old mill pond is still there, even though it's now partially silted up. The rest of Eagle Tor is just residential cottages, and you're through them in the blink of an eye. You then find yourself on the B5056, the main road that runs along the edge of the next parish in this series. With Birchover complete, we've just got one more to take on before we can wrap up another week in the Dales. The last one I've got for you, for now at least, will see us set foot in a vastly rural area with no village to speak of. If you like local legends though, how about the one that says Robin Hood could take gigantic strides of up to 15 metres? Well, apparently he could, and tomorrow we'll discover where. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.